Everybody, welcome back to the Smarketing CONNECT podcast. I'm your host and the current CEO and one of the co-founders of Smarketing CONNECT, Tom Libby. And today I have one of our newest members with us, Paulette. And as you guys are well aware, I don't do a lot of readings on these things. I don't do a lot of intro mumbo jumbo. I let the guests do all of that for themselves. So I'll start the podcast off with the very first question, Paulette, which is, tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure, I'm happy to. And thanks so much for the invitation, Tom. I always enjoy sharing this stuff. So I have called myself the tips strategist, not the tips that waitresses and waiters earn, but the how-to tips. And I've learned over the years how to help other people monetize what their how-to tips are. So I founded and I'm the owner of Tips Products Publishing Agency, and the clients tend to be book authors, speakers, and in general, subject matter experts. We have a great time finding assets that people didn't even have.
Yeah, it's funny that you literally stole my next question from me, which was going to be, who do you typically work with? Is it like companies? Is it people? What size are they? But you're talking about subject matter experts. So I'll rephrase the question into this. Does the subject matter expert matter? Meaning, like, does it matter what industry they are or what they are experts about?
Basically, no, with a little bit of a cutout. I have found over the years that we have a much broader reach than I originally thought. Primarily, I've been working with nonfiction subject matter experts. What I found, though, is that what we've created works with children's book authors, um, and it works with fiction. And that really just is about how I'm wired, that I see things, not dead people walking, but I see things that other people don't see. And it's a fascinating opportunity. So the only real cutouts are science and engineering. Otherwise, we take it all.
Interesting that those two got singled out because they seem to I would have expected them to fall in with you because of how technically step by step they are, right? Like because there's always like best practices and tips and stuff like that in the
Yeah.
engineering and science, but that's fascinating that they stuck out.
It really ends up being the personality and the brain wiring that they're not receptive, they're not easy to work with, for me at least.
Yeah.
I'm a possibility thinker. And it is surprising to me that scientists and engineers who are constantly looking for how to solve problems in the world aren't really ideal. But their personality, it's not built for this.
I totally. As soon as you said personality, my head just went. That I got it.
Yeah, I saw you
Nothing
smile.
else said.
You get it, yeah.
Totally got it. So, all right. So, shifting gears here just a little bit, I like to ask questions of our sales and marketing experts about like the must-haves on small business tools. I know what you do probably fits that category, but so let me take you aside from your product and service and what you offer. What would you consider if what would you advise a small business as a must-have tool in their toolbox if you're going to start a small business?
Some platforms of AI, and I never thought I'd be the one to say that. But once I finally got past my own personal resistance to it, I found how it can be used as a tool rather than as a weapon. And that I was very skeptical when I first heard about AI because what my people do and a lot of other creatives are exactly that. They're creating rather than taking from a body of saved, trained information. So what I found is that once I started to play with AI, it gave me ideas and perspectives on what my own stuff was that I just hadn't thought of.
Hmm.
It didn't replace the brilliance and genius that I can extricate, I can pull out, not like a dentist, but very gently and carefully out of my clients. They have information that they just have not realized there's value to.
Makes sense. And especially over the last 2 years or so, it's really been dominating, especially our field. The sales and marketing consulting world has been
Yeah.
dominated by new AI tools and new AI platforms. There's all kinds of AI things. So that makes sense that you would recommend to have something like that in their toolbox to refer to. So perfect. What about so this question's more pointed more toward you now, which is but I'm looking for like an overarching thing here. I'm trying to, I want to get at the way that this question is phrased is not always the best way to ask it. So my meaning, the question is, what challenges do small business owners often bring to you to solve? Meaning like, what are they thinking like that? What are they thinking they like they're coming to you because they have a problem with X, and does your solution actually solve X, or is it a much bigger, question that you pose back to them? I hope
It's
I'm
X
hopefully
plus.
yeah, hopefully I explained that well enough for you to answer.
Sure. Many times people come to me, they've already written a book. They thought they would put it on Amazon. They would wish, pray, hope, and sprinkle pixie dust on it, that magically sales would happen, and not even realize that they have no idea who bought their book. So they can't create a relationship with them.
Mm,
That is something that is so pervasive, and that thought process that I just described is so typical of people who have been either chomping at the bit to write a book and get it out into the world, or they've been listening to people saying the word should,
mm,
as in should write a book, which is something that is not my first choice of approaches. But nevertheless, not only do what we do with the how-to tips end up creating a new product that can be a trail of breadcrumbs in the way of marketing to the book. It's also creating a relationship. It's also a good foundation for building the business. And that's even if you're at the very beginning of your new business, that everybody has knowledge about something. And most folks wouldn't be doing their business if they didn't have some level of confidence that what they have is something that's desired by enough people to pay them that they can make a living out of it.
good good answer. Actually, great answer. I love that. Okay, so let's pretend you had a connection of yours, some sort of networking connection or something like that, that came to you and said, "Hey, I'm about to go hire a sales or a marketing consultant to help me with my business." Now, again, aside from you, obviously, hopefully you already have helped them, but let's say they're looking for some sort of other sales or marketing help. What piece of advice would you give them during that process, as if they were like, say, let's say they're interviewing sales and marketing consultants to help them with their business? What kind of advice would you give them to look for?
I would give them the advice of being very real in their self-assessment of who they are, what they're comfortable with, so that it's not fighting an uphill battle of a personality style or a learning style. Find out about yourself and really be brutally honest, because doing what you think others think you ought to be doing is a no-win,
Mm,
and it's doomed. So the question is to ask yourself, are you somebody that really likes structure? That's very important. When people come to me and all they're talking about is Amazon, by the third time they've mentioned Amazon, I know that I am not the right person for them,
mm,
because what my approach is much more unique. It is something that is really screaming out for just go haywire with your thinking and then refine it.
mm,
So when somebody is really talking, and I'm using Amazon not in vain, but just to describe what a different kind of approach would be. When someone says, I am in a very crowded field. What can I do to differentiate? They came to the right person then.
yeah. I got you. I got you. That makes total sense. All right. So a more fun question. I love this. This is probably my favorite question of the whole interview because I'm a little bit of a little bit of a nerd when I was a kid. So and of course all of us, all of my generation grew up with superheroes left, right, and center. So I love asking our guests this question about, Paulette, if you could be a superhero, who would it be, and tell us why?
Oh, this is so easy. When I saw that suggestion of including in your conversation, I just totally cracked up. I loved it because it's obvious. Wonder Woman.
Well, I
I
knew
mean,
I actually had a feeling it was going to be Wonder Woman.
well, you know me enough to know my personality and how I show up in the world.
The
You
why
know,
is important though. Why Wonder Woman?
why? Because she's kind, she's physically strong, she's cultured and intelligent, multilingual, and I do speak a couple of different languages. Only one of them is really for polite audiences, but nevertheless, uh, and she's always wonderful.
Yeah.
So why would I not consider Wonder Woman my hero?
And most importantly for me, I love her, by the way, also because she has the lasso of truth, right? Like that's probably my
Yes.
in my out of all the superpowers that are out there,
Yeah.
how could you not think that the lasso of truth is not the best one to have, right?
Right. And that she makes mistakes and learns from them.
Learns from
Boy, that is me all over.
it. Yeah.
I do not apologize and I don't even call them mistakes. I learned that I call them another friggin' growth experience, an AFKE. That's the acronym, an AFKE.
Uh, okay, so rounding off here, and how we wrap up our this episode of the podcast is I love, as you know, and you know me, Paulette. So one of the my favorite things is to pay it forward, right? Give I'd like to know if you have a sales or marketing consultant in your network that you think just does such a wonderful job that you just want to give them some credit. Just give them a shout out and say, "Hey, so and so, I think that person does a phenomenal job." And by the way, we will tag them in this when we release the episode. We'll tag them just so they know that they were your shout out. But do you have anybody like that in your network that you just think does such a wonderful job that you'd like to give them a little credit?
I do have somebody like that. It's Leanna Henry in Black Dog Markham. I think that she is really quite a phenomenal person, and she's one of those still waters run deep people.
For sure.
However, when she starts talking, it's you got to shut up and listen.
I could not agree more. And by the way, for those of you who don't, I've known Liana a long time. I love her to death. Her and her husband, to your point, her and her husband both are some of the most the fabulous people that I've ever met. Just
Mm.
absolutely fabulous people. So I could not agree with you more. I appreciate that because I think Liana is in both of our networks. And again, I've known her for a very long time, and uh, I think she's an amazing person. I think her and her husband both are just genuinely wonderful people. So probably the most
That's who I like to hang around with,
some
generally
of
wonderful
the
people.
yeah,
That's why,
sounds like a
I'm
good
still coming back to the meetings on Thursdays.
awesome. Well, Paulette, thank you so much for being my guest here today. I really appreciate this. This has been amazing, wonderful, and it's always fun to talk to you anyway. So I appreciate having you on the show. So thank you.
That's so kind of you. Thank you, Tom.
And for everybody else out there, keep selling.